Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies. Today we're cracking open the vault on a car that didn't just start a trend, it launched a revolution on four wheels. That's right, another classic unlocked, another beast revived, the 1965 Ford Mustang GT Fastback. This wasn't just a car, it was a shot of adrenaline straight into the heart of American car culture. Sleek, aggressive, and louder than your uncle at Thanksgiving dinner after 2 beers, the GT Fastback had muscle to match its swagger. And let's be honest, because modern cars forgot what muscle means, we're taking it back to when chrome was king and exhaust notes were symphonies. The Mustang GT took the pony car platform and gave it fangs, performance suspension, a growling V8, and styling so sharp it could slice a Corvette in half on a sunny day. It wasn't just a car, it was a lifestyle on bias-plied tires. So buckle up, crack open that can of nostalgia, and let's dive headfirst into one of the most iconic fastbacks ever to hit the streets. This is the 1965 Mustang GT, and she's still ready to run. Now, one of the coolest little quirks of this 65 Mustang GT Fastback, no rear quarter windows. That's right. While other cars were flaunting little panes of glass like fashion accessories, the GT Fastback said, "Nah, I've got something better." In their place, Ford installed vent-style louvers that weren't just for show. They were actually functional. These vents let air flow through the cabin like a breeze through a canyon, keeping things cool when AC was more of a luxury than a given. But more than that, they gave the Fastback its signature look. Sleek, aggressive, and just a little bit aggressive. It's like trading reading glasses for aviators. Sure, the windows could have been practical, but the louvers made a statement. This wasn't your grandma's grocery getter, it was a street-legal fighter jet. They added attitude, flair, and just the right amount of mystery, because nothing says, "don't mess with me," like a muscle car that breathes through its sides. In the end, it's the kind of design choice that made the Mustang GT Fastback a legend. Not just built to move, but built to move you. One vented panel at a time. The 1965 Mustang GT Fastback didn't walk into the room. It kicked down the door down with steel-toed boots and a cigarette hanging off its lip. Its design was equal parts elegance and attitude, like James Dean in sheet metal. Up front, the GT wore a bolder grille with integrated fog lamps because nothing says, "get out of the way," like lighting up the road with purpose. The long hood and short deck gave it that classic Mustang silhouette, like it was always leaning forward ready to pounce. The Fastback roofline? Sleek as a whiskey pour on a Friday night. Practical in theory, but really it was all about looking fast even when parked. Under the skin, it rode on a unibody chassis with beefed up frame rails, reinforced floor pans, and extra bracing for improved rigidity. Because style without backbone is just a paper tiger. Even the dual exhaust tips poking through the rear valiants weren't just for show. They were chrome middle fingers to anyone stuck in the slow lane. The Mustang GT didn't try to fit in. It stood out, roared louder, and looked better doing it. In a world of cookie-cutter cars, this one was fresh out of the muscle-bound oven. Let's talk about what really makes the 1965 Mustang GT Fastback a legend, the engine lineup. Because let's face it, a muscle car without muscle is just a coupe and a leather jacket. Now, if you showed up with the base 200 cubic inch Swift Power 6, you were in the wrong theater. That engine was for the standard Mustang, not the GT. And the 260 V8, that one had already packed its bags after 1964. No, the GT meant business, and business started at the 289. The base GT engine, the C-Code 289 cubic inch small block V8 with a 2-barrel carburetor, was like your reliable buddy who still knows how to throw a punch. It had enough grunt to keep things interesting, enough rumble to make the neighbors peek through the blinds. But if you really wanted to up the ante, the A-Code 289 brought a 4-barrel carburetor to the party, like trading a denim jacket for a leather one with spikes. Then there was the K-Code, the 289 Hypo, the holy grail. With high revving solid lifter cam and a 4-barrel Autolite 4100, it turned your GT into a street legal brawler. This wasn't just horsepower, it was horsepower with a chip on its shoulder. When it came to putting power to the pavement, the 1965 Mustang GT didn't just hand you the keys, it handed you the controls of a street weapon with a few flavors of fun. Whether you wanted to cruise, carve corners, or just leave long strips of rubber on Main Street, Ford gave you the tools to do it. No computer nanny required. Standard in most GTs was a 3-speed manual, a gearbox that did the job like a lunch-pailed factory worker. Not flashy, but it clocked in and delivered. Want more involvement? You could opt for the 4-speed manual, and suddenly every shift felt like loading a round in a 6-shooter. Click, bang, next gear. Now into your row your own? The 3-speed Cruise-O-Matic automatic was available too. Smooth, reliable, and perfect for those who prefer letting the car do the talking while they just held the wheel and grinned. And let's not forget, these weren't just bolt-on parts. The GT's drivetrain was tuned for spirited driving. With tighter ratios and durable components, this setup took V8 torque and translated it into pure road joy. It wasn't about digital trickery or drive modes. This was analog muscle. Raw, mechanical, and always ready for a good time. Now let's talk about the bones of the beast, the chassis and suspension of the 1965 Mustang GT Fastback. Think of it like the spine and legs of a prize fighter. Maybe not built for ballet, but definitely ready to throw down. The GT rode on the same unibody platform as the standard Mustang, but Ford gave it a little extra muscle where it counted. Up front, you had the independent coil springs and unequal length A-arms. Think of it like the car doing push-ups before each drive. Out back, a tried and true leaf spring setup, simple and rugged like a cowboy saddle. Now here's where the things get spicy. The GT package added a performance-tuned suspension that meant stiffer springs, heavier duty shocks, and a front sway bar to help this pony stay planted when the road started throwing curves. It wasn't a race car, but it could absolutely hold its own when things got twisty. Sure, it still leaned a bit. This was the 60s, not Nürburgring. But for the time, it was athletic, balanced, and surprisingly composed. The result? A car that didn't just go fast in a straight line. It could hustle through the corners of the grates of a linebacker doing ballet. Loud ballet. Slide inside the 1965 Mustang GT Fastback and you're stepping into a cockpit that was less luxury suite and more muscle lounge. It wasn't overflowing with high-tech wizardry, but what it lacked in screens it made up for with style, spirit, and a dash of chrome attitude. The GT's interior was a step above your run-off-the-mill Mustang. Standard bucket seats held you in like a firm handshake, supportive, not suffocating. The 5-dial gauge cluster gave you all the essentials: speed, fuel, temperature, oil, and amps, laid out like a pilot's checklist. No distractions, just you, the machine, and the road. You could opt for the rally pack, an add-on that mounted a clock and tachometer on the steering column, because even your car needed a wristwatch and a pulse monitor. And let's not forget the wood grain accents, chrome trim, and optional center console, because every Rebel needs a little refinement. Touch technology? No touchscreens, no voice assistants, just AM radio and the roar of your V8. Arguably better music anyway. This interior didn't coddle, it connected. It was designed to make you feel like part of the machine. When you sat behind the wheel, you weren't just driving. You were part of the horsepower symphony. Now let's talk about the bit that decides whether you spin on one tire or both in glorious harmony, the differential. The standard GT came with an open differential, which meant if one tire lost grip, the other just watched like a lazy coworker. But if you checked the right box, you got the traction locks limited slip diff. A real team player. When the road got slick or the throttle got heavy, both wheels put in the work, helping you grip and rip. It wasn't fancy, but it was effective. Kind of like duct tape for torque. Basic tech, but it got the job done. The 1965 Mustang GT Fastback wasn't just a powerhouse. It was a sculpture in motion, sized just right to look fast even when parked. At 181.6 inches long, it had the silhouette of a long-distance sprinter. Lean, low, and ready to pounce. With a width of 68.2 inches, it hugged the road just enough to feel planted without taking up the whole lane like today's bloated beasts. Height? Just 51.2 inches. That's barely over 4 feet tall, low enough to make climbing in feel like slipping into a fighter jet. And that 108-inch wheelbase gave the Mustang solid footing without making it feel stretched like a limo on leg day. Now let's talk weight. The GT Fastback tipped the scales at a lean 2,445 pounds. Lighter than your average modern compact. This thing didn't need turbochargers or 10-speed automatics to feel quick. It was a featherweight with a V8 heart. In today's terms, that's like a bantamweight boxer with a heavyweight punch. Small enough to dance through traffic, strong enough to throw down at the stoplight. The 65 GT wasn't built like a tank, it was built like a predator. Slim, sleek, and always looking for a straightaway. The 1965 Mustang GT Fastback was like that kid in high school who had it all. Looks, attitude, and could probably bench press a truck. Its biggest strength? That perfect storm of style, speed, and swagger. It was affordable performance with a V8 snarl wrapped in a body that looked like it was chiseled by a Detroit demigod. Lightweight plus punchy power meant fun in a straight line and just enough grip in the curves to keep your heart racing. Customization was another win. Ford basically handed you a buffet. Want a highway cruiser? Done. Corner carver? Sure. Weekend warrior? Absolutely. It was a blank canvas with tire smoke as your signature. But let's not pretend it was flawless. Ride comfort? Let's just say the leaf springs in the back weren't doing anyone's spine any favors on a bumpy road. Steering could be a bit vague, like trying to herd a Mustang with dental floss. And wet weather, with an open diff and all that torque, rain might as well have been motor oil. Still, for every rough edge, there was raw magic. The Mustang GT didn't do everything perfectly, it just did the important stuff loud, proud, and fast. And there you have it, the 1965 Ford Mustang GT Fastback. A car that didn't just show up to the muscle car party. It kicked in the door, cranked up the rock and roll, and stole the show. It was a right mix of beauty and brawn with just enough refinement to wear the leather jacket and still open the door for you. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't trying to be. This pony wasn't bred for polite city streets. It was made to run wild, leave rubber scars on asphalt, and make your pulse spike with every rumble. So now let's hear from you. Was this 65 GT the true beginning of the muscle car era, or just the most stylish troublemaker of the pack? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's stir the pot like a 289 at full throttle. If you enjoyed unlocking another classic and reviving another beast, hit that like button, punch that subscribe button like it owes you gas money, and join us for more where horsepower never dies. Thanks for watching RetroWheelsVault. Keep it loud, keep it classic, because modern cars just forgot what muscle means.